So you're planning a wedding. Your wedding might be coming up really soon. And now we're dealing with a worldwide pandemic. What do you do? Do you cancel? Do you reschedule? I'm going to share with you details that we just went through. Our wedding is or was scheduled for T-minus 6 days. So I'm going to share with you what we've done and some tips and resources to consider in possibly rescheduling your dream wedding. Stay tuned for this informative YouTube video. Welcome back, bridal babes. I'm actually coming to you from my bedroom because I've been working my plan. I've been working our vendor list and emailing. It's just been chaotic. COVID-19 is definitely a wedding guest. And in fact, it's a wedding guest nuisance. If you're like us and have a wedding date that you've been planning and working on or working towards, saving for, financing, it's a trying time. So I'm going to give you some tips. The first thing is to breathe. Take a deep breath. At the end of the day, this doesn't change the love that you have for your partner. It doesn't change the love that you have for your friends and family. Second, be smart. If you have a wedding really in the next 2 to 4, maybe even 6 to 8 weeks, start looking at your vendor contracts. Read the fine line, the fine print about cancellation, rescheduling policies. As of yesterday, March 13th, 2020, the U.S. is in a national state of emergency. So that was declared by our president. And that was kind of the factor for us in terms of being able to look at our contracts and contact our vendors. So let me give you a little back story, and I'm hoping this will be helpful. So this video is a little bit more personal than some of my other content here, but I really want to share with you what we're going through because I know we're not the only ones, and vendors are also equally going through this. So we had planned on a Sarasota destination dream wedding on March 20th of 2020. And on Monday, I think that was the 9th, I don't even know. But the Monday, we started having cancellations. Our population of potentially risky guests, meaning individuals 60 and older, and individuals with known underlying health concerns, lung challenges, autoimmunity, they were starting to cancel. And so that started coming down the pike on Monday, and I started talking with our wedding planner. So if you have a wedding planner, involve them, have them do a lot of the legwork. But I started talking with them, asking questions about what are the contingency plans and preparation to prepare and plan for safety for guests, meaning what's the cleaning procedures, what's their plan of attack, are they going to have sanitizing stations? Sometimes it might require changing a buffet to a sit-down meal because it might be something that would be less risky. In our case, Thursday was approaching and Brian, the groom's parents, started reconsidering their attendance. And that is one of these things that it's disheartening. You don't want to have, family members not attend because they're risk factors, as are Brian's parents. Brian's mom is a cancer survivor. She had her lungs radiated with her breast radiation and has always had compromised lung capacity. She for sure is a prime candidate. And I'm in the health field. And so one of the things Brian and I started talking about Friday morning was, what do we do if his parents don't attend? And we started talking to our bridal party. A few of them were asking, are you thinking about canceling? And then things just really quickly went sideways yesterday. So today's Saturday, things went sideways yesterday. And essentially by midday, we started to hear that there would be an emergency declaration made here in the US. Contractually, that's one of these things where it allows all of us, brides, grooms to be, and family members financing and having signed these contracts with our vendors, it allows us to start to make some decisions. And there's a lot of leniency right now. So travel plans, cancellations, the fees, they're being waived by airlines, by hotels, by rental car providers. and venues and planners and all the venue, the contractual engagements that you have, all your vendors. So I've written down some tips, and I want to reference them because this is so key. We first started to identify our guest list. So how many of our guest list participants are in that risk category with the likelihood that they might cancel. And we were looking at a 20 to 40% cancellation risk, meaning we'd go down by 20 to 40% of our guests. Having put a lot of money towards our wedding, we decided that we'd rather take advantage of moving the date and postponing than having us not have our favorite loved ones and all of our favorite people there to celebrate with us. And also the financial outlay, you can't get that back. So we started to look at postponement. We really made this very quick executive decision. So one of the things that you want to do if you're thinking about canceling, if your wedding's in the next 2 to 4 weeks, it's a good idea. Do it now because everybody else, we're all in the same boat. And if you're able to work with your venue first, and it might be an all-inclusive, maybe the venue is like ours, we have a venue and then we have a caterer and then we have a whole bunch of other vendors. Work with your venue first. Identify what their policies are. How are they being flexible? How are they adapting to these very quick, crazy changing times? And identify a new date. And then backtrack and contact your key vendors, your caterer, your planner. Planner can then outsource that, and they can start having calls with all the other vendors. But essentially, we were able to identify a whole new date. It is 13 months out, which is kind of crazy. It's one of these things I would start crying if I really started to think about it. But we secured all of our vendors for the new date in a matter of 4 hours. And we've been very lucky. We're working with an awesome wedding planner, NK Wedding Productions down in Sarasota. Nicole Caney and her team are amazing. Corinne Kelly is our wedding planner, our lead wedding planner, and we've been in contact with them basically every day, texting and emailing and just asking lots of questions, contingency plans, vendor plans, resources. I started to get alerted about the crisis in terms of safety when our venue had identified that they would not have any hand sanitizer stations available because their supplies were being diverted to the local hospitals. And that got me really freaked out. It's one of these things you don't really think like it's a big deal, but the reality is group gatherings, we're now seeing local entities and local municipalities, states, limiting quantity of people gathered. We have some other events happening for our wedding weekend. And so I placed calls to them asking, okay, if they have a lockdown of 100 or more or 50 or more people, what's our contingency plan? And I'll be honest with you, a few of our vendors have been very nonchalant about it. But the rest of our vendors, our key vendors, have been more than accommodating, extremely considerate, empathetic. We're all in this. And I called our hair and makeup team, our Brides by Kellyanne in Sarasota, and talked to Kellyanne, and she was like, I'm down a girl, one of the girls who was going to work our wedding. She is in quarantine. She has some unidentified virus, has been tested for the flu, has not yet gotten the COVID-19 test. More than likely, she might have it. Oh my God. So the vendors are in a bind because potentially their staff are compromised or dealing with this. So this is something I didn't even think about. Like, holy cow, our staff might not even be accessible. So we'd also be putting vendors in a state where they're scrambling. And this is so stressful. It's not worth it. So our decision, we just flat out made the decision to not cancel. We're postponing. So we have a tentative date of April of next year. There's a possible date in March that we'd reschedule. But I wrote down some things. Reach out to all your vendors. Start emailing, texting, communicating. Document this by email. Documentation is going to be key. Get in writing what the new terms are. What's their COVID-19 preparation? What are their COVID-19 plans for cancellation? I mean, there are contractual terms that, like an act of God, force majeure or whatever, would be just terms for canceling, postponing our deposits. Everything that we paid for is just moving forward to a different date. Our outlay is going to be close to zero. One of our vendors might be a little snarky, but honestly, if they are, we're going elsewhere. We're not even going to give them our money moving forward if they are not flexible. That particular vendor told us that she thinks this is just some media outrage and thinks it's just going to be it's a minor flu. That's not true. And don't let your vendors bully you into making poor decisions for you, the health of your loved ones, and your family members. Travel insurance is something you want to investigate. We have travel insurance through our credit cards. We have travel insurance as well as wedding insurance. Insurance providers are going to give you greater coverage if there is an outlay and you have an issue with a vendor. That might be a way for you to recoup some of your lost funds or deposits or whatnot. Wedding insurance, call your wedding insurance provider and see what's your coverage. Some just have liability. Others have cancellation policies, like God forbid, an act of God, a weather issue like a hurricane, earthquake. Things happen. I mean, look at Puerto Rico. A lot of people had wedding insurance. It covered the outlay of the expenses that we've put down. Refunds. Travel vendors are being extremely flexible. Like we had Delta flights that we actually got refunded. We have gotten refunds from our travel vendors. So even like our car service, the getaway car, instead of rebooking, they just gave us a refund or like, call us when it gets closer. That's so far out. We rental car refunds, hotels, super flexible. As long as you let all your guests know ahead of schedule. There's sometimes a 5-day window, sometimes it's a 2-day window, but acting quickly and decisively is going to be key. And that is what we did. I tabled my emotions. As much as I want to like freak out and go, this is ridiculous and I hate this and I wish it were different. It's not. And we don't have time to mess around because we have guests who have to change their travel plans, who have to change their scheduling, who have to get refunds just like we had to. Timing is of the essence because more and more folks are going to be dealing with this and these vendors are going to be inundated. So do your guests a favor, cancel sooner than later, be decisive, and definitely act quickly. And this is another note. It doesn't affect us. I'm on my 4th fitting for my dress. I have a beautiful couture gown by Galia Lahav, and it fits perfectly. So I have 13 months to keep all of my body work I've done intact, which is going to be crazy. It's just something to consider. It's not anything major. It should not definitely be an influence, but dresses. I'm reading reports already that if you're a bride in June, in the summertime, in the fall, that if your order is coming from China, there are delays. So you might want to call your dress vendor, call whoever you've purchased your dress through, find out how those delays impact you. You might not be dealing with immediate cancellation or postponement or reschedule like we are because we are 6 days out of our date, but you might be dealing with a dress delayed, and that is stressful. So be armed and dangerous. Start calling. Communication, lines of communication are going to be key. So ladies, brides to be, grooms to be, family members, these are my tips for you. I hope this is helpful. I will be posting a lot of content updating you on this particular crisis, but also giving you more details on our wedding planning. The rescheduling process, I'm probably going to have some of our vendors on to talk about all of this, recap what you can do. But it's a stressful time. And at the end of the day, nothing is more important than your health and your happiness. And I know economically, we assessed the risk factor. We are glad to take a $5,000 or $6,000 hit if we have to keep Brian's parents safe, to keep a great aunt and great uncle safe, to keep our beloved cousin who has multiple autoimmune disorders, keep them safe. So just food for thought. Please comment down below any questions you have. I'm going to be putting up more content. I hope you'll also follow me. I run a natural health practice, and I'll include some information down below where you can grab my Instagram. I'm going to be posting live updates daily at 9 a.m. every day as we venture through this crisis, this pandemic, worldwide pandemic. It's going to affect every industry, and the wedding planning industry will be impacted. Our vendors are going to be highly stressed. Yesterday, I think, was when stuff really should hit the fan. So hang in there. Don't stress. It'll be okay. Take a deep breath, implement self-care tactics, and know that things will work out better. It's better to be prepared, pre-plan, have a plan in place, implement it, execute it, and then just trust and have faith that you've done the right thing. All right, ladies and friends, I will see you on our next video.